So I am up to just kind of not at the end of maths, but near the end of maths. And we are at one of I think it's the second to last commitment ceremony. And Beck and Danny are having their moment on the couch. And it's really interesting because it really epitomises the situations that women find themselves in modern day situationships. And it is really interesting to see the way that men and women work through situationships. Now, I'm not saying that it's predominantly always men creating an imbalance, but a lot of the times it is. So what's really interesting in watching it through maths is the things that she's talking about is the things that come up on the internet all the time that women are constantly trying to seek about situationships, which is that she feels like she's initiating, she feels like she's trying to create romantic interest, she's initiating kisses, she's initiating plans. And when she goes to express herself, she gets a very different situation from him. So the example in maths, he actually starts joking or minimising. One of the things he'd said, interestingly, was, if all else fails, your cousin fancies me. A lot of situationships, you'll find this, they'll make reference to other women that they could be with. And then when you pluck up the courage as a woman to talk about why you don't feel valued or wanted, what's interesting is Danny is a textbook answer that probably everybody in a situationship has experienced, where you say, I don't feel wanted, I don't feel chosen. You only want to contact me when it's convenient. I have glimpses of something romantic with you, but nothing kind of really develops in the way that it should, and I don't feel safe and wanted, and I'm wondering how you feel. His response, instead of to reassure her, his body language doesn't change, he doesn't look distressed remotely. His response is, well, that's not fair. And I think what is textbook in situationships is the reason the attachment stays is because of the ambiguity. So when women finally get to a point where they seek clarity, a man has got no comeback because he cannot produce evidence that he doesn't have. He doesn't have evidence of showing that he's cared or he's initiated or he wants consistency, because it's not there. He wants access, not the consistency that evolves into a normal, healthy relationship. So when you find, if you're a man or a woman, when you find that other person either says that your reaction is unfair, they try and character assassinate your reaction instead of trying to reassure you, then this is a textbook situationship and it is not going anywhere. So unfortunately, what usually happens is the other person has to completely be exhausted with the dynamic and completely over not getting their needs met before the situation ends. And then usually after that, you kind of realise in the future, you just don't want to do this again. But it's a sad part of human connection now, because people get to have access to other people emotionally and physically without commitment. So it just felt really stark seeing it in the maths example, because we've all experienced this, and it's quite sad because externally you can see it's really obvious that person just isn't really going to give you what you need, and we've all experienced it internally. But then it helps you understand fundamentally that if somebody is hovering around this space of a maybe, if there's no actual progress happening in a connection, and if when you raise your feelings that you don't feel safe and you're asking for that, and they respond with negativity about you, with defensiveness, or with a that's not fair, that's not how it is comment, and they start trying to change the projection of what you think rather than sit with, oh, is that how you feel? How can I help? How can I change that? How can I reassure you? Then that is your answer, that this is not your person, this is not your dream romantic relationship, and you need to walk away, because the fact you've got to that point and the reaction that they give you shows you will never have your needs met in this situation. This person probably was showing you signs and telling you things from the very beginning that reinforced that. You just didn't want to see it. And then unfortunately, as a woman and as a man, you get to a point where you can't go any further down this track. your body, your mind, everything is like the sirens are going off and I can't go any further down this. It's sad that you get to that point, and hopefully you can do better in the future. But yeah, it's sad because it looks like Becca's kind of finally acknowledged in maths, like we all have in our situationship past, that this person is never going to change, this dynamic's never going to change, because the person who is in that dynamic with you liked it being ambiguous, liked it being undefined, because it meant they could get access without effort, without commitment, without emotional vulnerability, without consistency. And access without all of those things is literally just physical attraction and lust. It's not a relationship, and it's not building as the other person wants. So this is really fundamentally why situationships collapse, because one person indefinitely wants something more and the other person doesn't. And the person that wants more just shrinks their needs over time because they fancy the person, until it gets to a point where they can't do that anymore. And once the reality is, oh, actually, this isn't going anywhere, this person really isn't that invested in me, then the illusion breaks. And once the fantasy and the illusion of what this relationship could be breaks, that's when you finally leave a situationship.